Onboard RAID versus software RAID. My motherboard, an Asus M4A79T Deluxe, advertises RAID 0/1/5 capabilities. My limited understanding is that onboard RAID is better than software RAID. Is this necessarily true? Is an onboard RAID controller closer in performance to a software controller or a dedicated hardware controller?
Hardware RAID, which means buying a RAID card, and installing it in your computer is good. Software RAID is low performance, but it's reasonably stable, and pretty reliable. Onboard RAID, which is the crappy RAID emulation built into your motherboard, has low performance, and low stability. I have used onboard RAID before, and I have always regretted it. You gain nothing, zip, from using built-in RAID emulation, no matter how much you paid for the motherboard. There is no optimization, there is no performance increase. Lose a drive in a RAID 5, it can take literally days to rebuild it. Likewise, checking an array for errors, and errors will happen, because it's not reliable. If you use software RAID emulation, at least you can put the drives in another machine and have a good shot for recovering the RAID. With an onboard RAID emulator? Impossible.
They are perfectly adequate for someone that wants a simple backup plan. Remember, RAID is not a backup strategy, it's designed to increase performance and/or reliability of your storage. Backup means getting the data synchronized off of the RAID arrays onto another storage device. Google for RAID is not backup for countless articles that discuss the myth. Smile.
In my opinion, onboard RAID is in fact a software RAID. Most of the job is done by dedicated drivers installed in the operating system.
Depends on the RAID type. Been quite a while since I've seen benchmarks doing direct comparisons between pure software versus onboard versus dedicated, but from what I remember, pure software is just a disaster. Avoid it whenever possible. You can get pretty reasonable performance with either a RAID 1 or RAID 0 setup. Using it, but it's just not worth the hassle to actually putting it in place. Onboard RAID 0 performance is comparable to a dedicated controller. RAID 1 write performance is about the same as well. RAID 1 read performance, however, appeared limited to single drive speed, were the better. Hardware controllers would stripe the data together like RAID 0 for a faster throughput. RAID 5 performance of on-board is limited, reasonable enough for something like a home media server, but the dedicated XOR hardware of the controller card makes the onboard look anemic. Like I said though, it's been a good 3 or 4 years since I've really read anything about the performance of onboard controllers, and we've had 3 or 4 generations of chipsets come out since then.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.